Here we go has been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that former African Footballer of the Year Ademola Lookman will be heading to Spain to play under Diego Simeone for Atlético Madrid. An agreement has been reached between Atalanta and, of course, Atlético Madrid for the transfer of Ademola Lookman to Spain. According to reports, it will cost 35 million euros guaranteed fee with 5 million euros in add-on. Of course, Nigerians have been talking about that move of Ademola Lookman to Atlético Madrid. Welcome to another edition of Sports Hangout, where we talk about everything sports. Today we'll be talking about Ademola Lookman. Remember that it is the transfer deadline day in Europe. That's the winter transfer deadline day, and we have few hours to the end of the winter transfer window. Of course, Ademola Lookman is the rave of the moment. He's moving to Atlético Madrid from Atalanta. That move has been the offing for a long time. Remember last summer he was close to joining Inter Milan, and right now he's swapping Atalanta for Atlético Madrid. JJ, let's talk about this transfer between Atalanta and Atlético Madrid. First, do you think it's a major step for Ademola Lookman leaving Atalanta and joining Atlético Madrid?
Certainly. When you do take a move from, of course, Atalanta and Atletico Madrid are not on the same level.
Yes.
So when you do take a move,
but Atalanta won the Europa League some years ago.
They won the Europa League, but then you must understand that for some reasons, Atletico Madrid were once finalists, Champions League finalists
twice,
for 2 years. So, and it's not like they haven't won the Europa League before themselves. So when you look at it in the broad spectrum of things, Atletico Madrid are still a bigger team than. In fact, in Europe, they are one of the biggest teams in Europe. So when you make a move to a big team, it's usually considered a better alternative for you. And so I think the incentive for Ademola Lookman is going to be bigger. And on paper, it looks like it's a really great move for him. But let's see what happens on the field of play eventually when he makes his debut.
Let's talk about some other things, JJ. Because if you look at the team that we went with for the African Cup of Nations, Victor Osimhen, in quotes, the biggest player in the Super Eagles. He plays for Galatasaray in Turkey. Ademola Lookman before now used to play for Atalanta, and some other few players for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Alex Iwobi plays for Fulham in the Premier League. We don't really have players playing for the big clubs in Europe. And when I say big clubs, I mean Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, big clubs in Europe. What do you think is responsible for the fact that Nigerian players are not playing for the big clubs in Europe? I've been thinking that there should be a reason why the Nigerian players are not playing for big clubs in Europe. Because if you look at other African countries, for example, Antoine Semenyo just moved from Bournemouth to Manchester City. He's from Ghana. You're from African countries as well. Players playing for big countries. So why is it, Masdrai of Manchester United, he plays for United. That's a big club. He's from Morocco. So why is it that Nigerian players are not getting the big moves to big clubs?
Yeah, one of the factors that determine how far a player will go. There are some factors, not just one, but one of the factors is how strong your agency is.
Yeah.
If you've got a proper, some people, they've got this PR of a thing, and they're not as good as they are, but they're hype. And nowadays, when we have managers, when we have teams buying players on, not just using a scouting system, they use scouting system with statistics.
Yes.
So when they collect the data together and they realize that the data is in favor of, I think the player fits into their projects, yes, they go ahead and get the player. So when we were talking about Morocco some times ago, I mentioned that Morocco they have invested into their team setting. And this is not, you're seeing Hakimi, you're seeing Mazraoui, you're seeing Brahimi, all of these players in big teams.
Brahim Diaz play for
we're talking about
Hakimi plays for PSG.
Systemic integration that happens to almost match that of Europeans. And so when one of the things that also acts like a prejudice against Nigerian players is they look at where they start from, their early career, their academy. Which academy did they develop from? And then when they came to Europe, which team did they come?
Is age also a factor?
I was getting to that. I was always.
That's the elephant in the room.
I think that's the elephant in the room. Always going to be the elephant in the room because Nigerians, man, I don't know why it's now specifically stereotyped to Nigeria. They believe we are the biggest fraudsters in Africa. And
In
so,
terms of
in
age.
terms of age, in terms of almost everything. So, I think psychologically that thing is a part of Nigeria, the way they see us and they think.
So if a player says he's 20,
Now,
sometimes just say he's
let me
30.
give you an example. Sometimes ago, I was listening to I was still comparatively young, and I heard on the radio that Inter Milan were suing Taribo West. Why? Taribo West, they said Taribo West was 40 years old when he moved to Inter Milan.
Okay.
But Taribo West, at the time he moved there, he claimed to be 28.
Wow.
So when they made, I don't know what investigation they made on whether they said they were going to sue him.
Wow.
See? Look at the discrepancy.
That's 12
years.
That's a lot.
So, and then the age factor now is, if we buy this player, we are buying, okay, you said you are 21, 22 years old. We want to buy you because we view you as a long-term project.
Yes.
And so if we spend so much money on you, and 2-3 years down the line, you have packed up. Your form is out. Your personality, you have nothing else to offer us. We are at a loss. We can't sell you. What have you brought in? So all of these things, nobody wants to run a business at a loss. And so they view Nigerian players as a loss. In fact, you look at Osimhen. Only Osimhen in modern times should have or was coveted by majority of these big teams.
Yeah.
And, whatever reason that made him go to Galatasaray, I don't know. But he could have gone to Man United.
Yeah,
he could have gone to Chelsea. He could have gone to Madrid or any of the big teams. And you see the caliber, the quality is there. The quality is there because but then he didn't make the move to a big team all of the way. He started from Lille, and then from there to Napoli, and from Napoli in Galatasaray. He could have moved to any of the big teams from Napoli. And another thing is discipline, and that's, I think, the thing that stood against Victor Osimhen too, from getting a move to a big team. He had this discipline issue. He couldn't, and gone were the days when you had the likes of Kanu, you like the likes of Martins. Even Martins played for Newcastle, and he played for Inter Milan as well. Yeah. You had the likes of Kanu. Talking about those players, it has effect on them, and so you look at how did those players then manage to get themselves to move to big teams? But then we are struggling with the crop of players we have now. That shows why we couldn't even come first, why we ended third in the AFCON. And because the quality of players we parade now, we are not investing into our youth system in Nigeria. That's the point I'm making. And until we start investing, start looking into the bag. We always talk about grassroots football, and how many of these grassroots footballers eventually make the jump. And most of them, by the time you look around, look at this. Most of these academies that parade their kids around, you have most of these kids already 17, 18, and no hope of making it in football. All of a sudden, they are 25 and they make it, and they say they are 17 again. Because these things, and discipline too. Discipline. Most of our players, they lack that.
Just to say, I want to rock the boat. I want to, shake some table. So David Gea of Manchester United was at the World Cup in 2007, under 17, and then Spain finished second behind Nigeria. If you look at that Spanish team in 2007 that lost to Nigeria, some of them are still playing right now. David Gea is still, active.
Very agile.
Very agile. But if you look at the crop of players that played for Nigeria at the under 17 World Cup, they are no longer, you can't see them right now. Like Kabiru Akinshola, King of Sanga. So I'm trying to think what went wrong, because so if you say you are 17 in 2007 is just 19 years. So
18 years ago, 19 years ago.
So 19 plus 17, that should be 36.
19 plus 7, yes, 36.
36. So, but some of them, the last time you heard about them was probably 10 years ago. So what is, just to allude to?
Yes,
what you
exactly.
said.
So yes, I like that allusion. You have the likes of Toni Kroos.
Toni Kroos was there for Germany too.
He
Imagine.
just retired. Yeah. And look at the longevity. Look at the career they went
on for Real Madrid. Played for the Bayern Munich.
Santos Macaulay. He was the best dribbler. He was the best finisher. I think after then, we never heard of him again. What happened? These are things that work against.
Yeah.
We need, until we begin to invest in our youth system, youth football, grassroots football, and ensure a way that makes it easy for players that are really good to make it into top football. I think that prejudice will continue for as long as possible. Samuel Chukwueze was at the time, he was one of the
Was at AC
brightest
Milan, went to
youngsters.
Fulham,
He started at Villarreal, but then now he could, from AC Milan, he's been shipped off to
Fulham. Where in the Premier League, he has more visibility in the Premier League.
But then, is he really performing as Chukwueze in Villarreal? You look at those perspectives. So, or would you say Fulham is a bigger club in pedigree than Villarreal? These are things that work against players like this. And we had a culture in the Premier League. We had Kanu Wako, we had Obafemi Martins, we had John Mikel Obi, we had Yakubu. These people they became cult heroes in the teams they played for. Why can't we have that now?
All right. Let's go back to Ademola Lookman. See, I have a lot of fear and the worry for Ademola Lookman because he's playing under a strange manager. He's going for now, talking about Diego Simeone. Now, Simeone is a good manager, really, but I don't know what he does to attacking players. That when they get to Atlético Madrid, I don't just know what happens to them and something will happen and they will just lose their attacking threats. Julian Alvarez of Manchester City started very well, but right now he now has a dip in form for Atlético Madrid. Now, do you think that Ademola Lookman will be able to thrive at Atlético Madrid? Of course, you got some other players there. Antoine Griezmann is still very much there. They got Julian Alvarez. Do you think that it will make it big at Atlético Madrid?
I think if you are basing your claim on, if you base your claim on Julian Alvarez, you might be mistaken there. Even Julian Alvarez has scored goals.
Yeah.
But then he has
been struggling over the past couple of weeks
There's a player in Atletico Madrid currently, Alexander Solath. He played in, I think, Birmingham in England. There was a team he played for in England. He struggled seriously in England. But then he's now in Atletico Madrid. He joined last season. He scored,
and he's a good striker.
In 55 games. He scored 27 goals now. In 55 games, he scored 27 goals. You have Griezmann. Griezmann has got 208 goals for Atletico Madrid. We had Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez joined when he left Barca. And in his first season, he scored 21 goals in the La Liga for them. There's a way he creates system around. If you can work hard, if you're a good presser of the ball, you are definitely going to enjoy football under Diego Simeone. He just wants his team to play compact. There was a time when he had Koke, he had Angel Correa, he had Luis Suarez, he had Adam Turan. These players were not really flashy players like that, but they were a core group of players, and they played together. It was collective. And if you like I mentioned, if you can press, if you're a good presser of the ball with Diego Simeone, you are not going to suffer. And Ademola Lookman, with the way he played at AFCON, showed that he is going to be a hit for Atletico Madrid. Of course, Diego Simeone doesn't just buy players. He doesn't just, and there's a reason he's one of the longest serving managers in a football club, still at a football club currently. I don't think there's any manager that's been long at a club now, like he is now. And he's one of the best paid managers. So I think he's a really good manager, and he knows how to get the best out of players. And yes, it's going to be a hit if Ademola Lookman can also put in perspective the issue of discipline. If he's disciplined and focused and can work hard, those are principles that and is courageous. Those are principles that if you look at Atletico Madrid players under Diego Simeone, those are qualities that he look for in a player. And if you're not giving him, he doesn't care whoever you are. He's not shy to bench you or offload you the next. So hopefully, Ademola Lookman, he becomes a hit. At least it's going to be a good thing for Nigerian football.
Yeah, that we have a big player here.
So it can pave the way for others to make it into top teams in Europe too.
All right. I mean, interesting conversation about Ademola Lookman, the former African Footballer of the Year, who is now going to Atletico Madrid to join Diego Simeone. And Nigerians are happy that at least we have a big player. We have a player now playing for a big team in Europe. That is Atletico Madrid. Let's get your reactions in our comment section. Let's tell us what you think about the signing of Ademola Lookman to Atletico Madrid. Do you think it's going to be a big hit or be a big miss for Atletico Madrid? Remember, the winter transfer window will climax later today. So at the end of today, teams will need to wait till the summer before they get in players. So teams are trying to do last minute deals to ensure that one or two players get in before the winter transfer window officially close. I remain Toby.
And I'm JJ. Don't forget again to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you.